We've got Toxicroak in against the Ogerpon. We're going to swap in a Weavile here. Everything is going according to plan. In comes Weavile. We threaten it out with the Ice move. We're looking great. Oh, f***! I don't think I've ever had to prepare to face 19 different Pokemon in a Draft League game, but there's a first time for everything. My opponent's team is on the right, and with 4 different Ogerpons, 2 different Basculegions, and 4 Oricorios, I've got my work cut out for me. Luckily, my Ursaluna Blood Moon leans off really well into about 75% of his potential roster with a really defensive set, allowing me to 2-hit KO most mons in return with a combination of Blood Moon into Vacuum Wave, aside from Ogerpon Cornerstone, and wouldn't you know it. Given the bulk that we have, I go for an Earth Power to break this thing sturdy and hang on to about a third of my HP after a Power Whip. Now I'm going to swap out into Toxicroak to take the Power Whip and skillfully dodge. From here, I want to play just a little bit more aggressively, as Ogerpon does get access to Zen Headbutt, a 4-time super effective move against Toxicroak to cleanly knock me out, so I'm going to swap into Weavile. No aggressive play goes unpunished, and Onesie goes for another Power Whip, which does connect and knocks out my Weavile. Fun fact number 1, I found out after the match, his Ogerpon didn't even carry Zen Headbutt. So, back into Toxicroak I go. We've got a very incredibly defensive set that comes in clutch in this battle, but a little more on that later. We can resist the Power Whip and start wearing this thing down with a Toxic. Onesie wants to preserve this and switches out into his Basculegion. Now, fun fact number 2, I don't know the difference between the Basculegion's gender's appearances, so at this point during the battle, I am frantically searching Bulbapedia for an answer to find out it's a boy! With that in mind, Suicune handles this thing swimmingly with its mixed bulk and assault vest to help us sponge physical hits and punish special attackers with our coverage moves, as well as the spicy Mirror Coat tech that I'm bringing this week. I am carrying Shadow Ball for this thing and decide to go for that to find out it is an incredibly slow variant of Basculegion. As my opponent flip turns out into their Ogerpon, I swap back out into my Toxicroak to tank the Power Whip. Thinking that he won't want to stay in, I do go for a Baton Pass and swap back out into Ursaluna Blood Moon on the Clodsire. Earth Power is super free against my opponent's team this week as he swaps out into the Basculegion. It brings it really, really low. Priority with Vacuum Wave is able to finish the job. And now that Urshifu Rapid Strike comes in, it is time for some bear-on-bear violence.
Sunday, 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 be there for bear-on-bear violence.
Unfortunately, that means it's time to lay Ursaluna to rest, as it's done a great job of poking holes in my opponent's team and securing a knockout this match. With all the pivoting going on in this match, I figure it's time to bring in Screamtail to set up our rocks. Alongside Stealth Rock this week, we are running dual screens to help us just take some of those hits a little bit better, as well as Psychic Noise to help prevent any recovery from my opponent's side. You definitely want to keep watching to see how this set plays out. Not wanting to take a super effective move, Onesie swips into his non-rain Politoed. I'm definitely confused at this point, and it's only until after the match I found out that he actually misgened his Politoed to be Water Absorb instead of Drizzle. Now, I really don't want to get Whirlpool Perish Trap with this thing, so with Toxicroak having dry skin to potentially get some recovery, I go on ahead and swap in. Onesie makes a great read and swaps into the Clodsire. Now, Earthquake is super effective against me, and fearing that Earthquake, I am able to swap into my Air Balloon Espeon to Magic Bounce any hazards that he's hoping to get, as well as remain immune to the Earthquake. Wait, I'm sorry. You didn't know I had an Espeon? That's right, I did make some free agent transactions in between weeks 2 and 3, so let's take a quick second to talk about those so you guys are up to speed. I needed some Pokemon that were just a little bit more immediately threatening and added some diversity, so I did drop Zamazenta Crowned, Hisuian Braviary, and Jolteon, but in return I did pick up Hisuian Gudra, Espeon, Thundurus Therian, and Regirock. Espeon is now one of our team's new Terra captains with access to Psychic, Fairy, and Electric Terra options. Looking at Onesie's team, and especially given the Basculegion set, I am anticipating especially offensive Archaludon, and I do take this opportunity to go for a Trailblaze to boost my speed and outpace the rest of Onesie's team. Here I do go for a Calm Mind, where he actually reveals to be a physically offensive Archaludon with Heavy Slam. Thankfully, I take that pretty well, so I decide to go for another Calm Mind to get to +2, and it's here where my opponent now reveals the Body Press, doing an insane amount of damage. Unfortunately, I don't think there will be an opportunity for Espeon later this match at this point, and I let it go down after getting some good damage off with Draining Kiss. If you keep watching, you'll see how Espeon could have actually been very, very clutch endgame, but hindsight is always 20/20. Now, I did bring Suicune to be very bulky, and it is a little bit more offensive at this point than our Toxicroak, so I do go in for some Shadow Ball special defense drops. I take a little too much and decide then maybe a Reflect will help us out, as Onesie reveals that he's actually running a Resto Chesto set to bring his monster back up to full health. After the Reflect, I do bring in Toxicroak, and it's here where Turtle Boy shines. Now, you see, he's got this really insane set that I thought I was crazy for bringing, but his only attack is Super Fang, and he's got Toxic, Baton Pass, and Taunt, all of which are about to come in clutch. Once our Chaludon starts to set up with an Iron Defenses, I go for a Super Fang to do half of his overall HP. From here, Toxicroak's actually able to taunt to prevent him from further setups, and I can then swap back out into Scream Tail to take the body press. A few more swaps between Scream Tail and Rocky Helmet Toxicroak damage, and then I find myself back in against the Archaludon with my Scream Tail. I'm able to click Psychic Noise at this point to prevent it from going for rest. I do take this opportunity to set up another Reflect just to be able to sponge some hits from the Urshifu in the back, and we're able to knock out the Archaludon on the next turn. I never thought I would see a Scream Tail knockout in Archaludon, but that's the fun of Pokemon Draft League at the end of the day. From here, I want to bring the differential as low as I can, and you'll see that we're able to do so. Against the Ogerpon, I am able to take an Ivy Cudgel through the Reflect and go for a Psychic Noise to wear it down. Ogerpon may be able to knock out my Scream Tail here, but Toxicroak is able to come in and force the Ogerpon to knock itself out against its Rocky Helmet. Now is when the Urshifu comes back in, which I thought Suicune was able to handle to most extents, except for this Urshifu's carrying Swords Dance. I go for an Air Slash to try to get some damage off and try swapping back around into Toxicroak in case he goes for a Surging Strikes. Unfortunately, he doesn't, and Drain Punch knocks out Toxicroak. Suicune comes back in and goes down to a Surging Strikes. And that's the story of how I faced a team with 19 potential Pokemon. Bye!